Three, two, one.
Hi, welcome to our video. We are Grandma's Trio this week because we're without Demetra, but nonetheless, we're going to be talking about The King of Kong, A Fistful of Quarters, the 2007 documentary by Seth Gordon, and we're going to be applying Sontag's ideas or notes on camp. I'm Mars and I use they, them pronouns.
I'm Molly and I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Corey and I use they, them pronouns.
All right, to start, we'll define camp for you. So camp is a way of viewing things, but also a quality in some objects and people. This is all according to Sontag, by the way. And she says that camp is love of the unnatural, of artifice and exaggeration. And it is when something is too much or it's good because it's awful. So that's what we have on camp. So this documentary, any thoughts to get us started?
Well, first off, I feel like a good place to start is some like physical things that I thought were camp in there, because I know there's a lot of like we were talking about before, like camera shots and like the way they edit it, but also I feel like Billy Mitchell's tie.
The tie scene.
Yes, the
Iconic.
whole, not just like his physical tie, but the talking, the interaction during that scene, which I know Mars has like a good.
Yeah, I have a quote here because he was talking about his like 3-letter name on the machines, and he was like, what does it look like my name is? Look at me. And he like pulled out his shirt and the guy was like, Ty. And he was like, T-I-E. He was like, no, it's not. But then he says it's USA because America always has to be on top. Very funny, very camp, because he takes himself so seriously when he says it.
Yes. Oh, I think that reminds me of a quote from Sontag.
Oh boy.
I think, and we did this whole thing once before.
Unfortunately, should we disclaim that we will be referencing our conversation before because there was a whole nother assignment, didn't work out. Moving on.
There should be enough context. Yeah, it should make sense.
I think Billy Mitchell, also his tie and his mullet. I think his mullet is camp, but I think his whole character is camp. And there is a quote by Sontag that I think is him. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it, but it says, it's like camp is to be serious, dead serious. And like when you're talking to like Billy Mitchell, like I feel like I would describe him as not just serious, but dead serious.
Yeah, I would agree because I have this quote. I don't think it's from Billy. I think it's just from one of the gamers that they were interviewing at the beginning of the documentary. But he was talking about the game and he said, "You will lose your life." Talking about the game, the life in the game, obviously, but like they keep referring to it as dying and like losing your life, which I think is funny. And another comment, I'm sorry to be dominating the conversation here, but the way you said, the way Molly said that Billy Mitchell's mullet is camp, I agree. And I also think that brings into play the idea that age can create camp, like something getting old and it's not in style anymore and then it's too much, because back then mullets were like pretty normal. I think they're coming back now, but Billy's mullet is camp. I agree.
I was just about to say, like, that kind of like reminds me, like with like age, I feel like low key it's like kind of coming back, like at least in like
gay people,
gay TikTok, like very much like mullets coming back. And like I'm wondering if somehow like TikTok, and remember like the reproduction, all the sameness, I wonder if that has anything to do with that and what that makes this new generation. What does that mean?
Mars, you also mentioned that it was coming back with gay people. I believe there was, Sontag had brought up a few times that camp is like very related to queerness. because
Yeah.
queer people are just creative.
Yeah.
You
I
know,
love that you brought that up. That is so true.
mhm.
Yeah. So did we have any other like physical items that we saw in the documentary that we thought were camp?
Um,
Or have we hit
I
on
mean,
all those points?
I think like small things, like I noticed that like the room, like I don't know, I should have gotten a screenshot, but there was a room and there was like a couch and like some dresser and a sign, and I don't think it was an exit sign, but it was like this neon sign with this like ugly colors, like all the furniture, it was all camp.
Camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then another like I guess setting or like background. I noticed that when oh my gosh, Steve Wiebe,
Yeah.
when his wife was talking, they had her standing in the garage in front of his Pac-Man like machine, which I just thought was like such a weird detail, and kind of came across as campish. And then another weird setting, I don't know why they keep doing this. There was a guy, should have got his name. I don't think he was very important though. And he was doing his interview in a trench coat in front of a child's playground, like in front of this like yellow slide. Just very camp decisions
Were
on
there
the director's part.
Were there multiple playgrounds?
Yeah, that came up twice. Two different people, rather. Very silly.
I guess it maybe connects to the fact that like these like arcade games and video games are maybe like aimed towards children, so they're kind of doing like a I don't know. I'm
Yeah.
guessing as to why they did that.
I'm glad you brought up like the whole arcade cabinets as well. I think like arcade cabinets, like the huge ones in themselves, are like pretty campy. Like,
Mhm.
first of all, like you think about like what we have now, like a Nintendo Switch is like maybe this big, and then there's these huge cabinets that are the size of like 4 people, and they've
Mhm.
got all these funky designs on them. They've got these silly looking joysticks and buttons on them, all these crazy designs. They're just huge, very much exaggerated.
Are the is that what that's called? An arcade cabinet? Or
Yeah,
like the big
the
game?
machine, yeah, just like a single machine.
Oh, I didn't know that's what it was called.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever like played one. I played a Galaga cabinet once. It's very interesting. Like there's this, there's the plastic screen, and then there's like the actual game is like slanted. So that's kind of hard to look at. If y'all get the chance, you should try it. It's funny.
I don't want to flex, but I have been to Fun Spot before. I
So rad.
have probably played one of the games that Billy Mitchell played. I don't
Oh my
know if
God.
that's true, but
Okay.
it's like it
Uh,
has like the arcade part, and it also has like more like, well, I guess there are arcade games, but like the more like fun, like like they had this little carousel and stuff like that. So when I was a kid, my aunt had a place in Winnipesaukee, and I went there all the time. So I just thought that was funny. Unrelated to camp. I'm sorry. I just wanted to flex.
that's very
Flex
cool
on me.
though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
super interesting.
Yeah. So if we're gonna move on to well, so I was looking at notes from the lecture, and it said that camp is about form, not content. So for example, the story is relevant. The story is not relevant. The bad acting is, which I thought was interesting because I feel like in our last conversation, we maybe focused a little bit on like content, like the actual story, which apparently can't be camp. But in terms of actual form, that reminds me of like the editing in the documentary. Extremely camp, and I have a few notes on that if anyone wants to jump in, or I can just go. I don't want to
Yeah,
dominate
go
the
for it.
Okay. So one thing I noticed was the music was a choice. There was this one intense part during like one of the like like gaming sessions when they were like trying to beat each other, that had like that festival music. Last time we figured out what the name of that was.
Yes, and we talked about this in our last thing. It is the soundtrack is used in this documentary, or what we know of, and probably some of your things. Euphoria.
Yeah. Euphoria,
Yeah.
like a huge part of Euphoria.
And it's also like a popular like TikTok sound, and like when
Mhm.
people are like explaining like on like crime talk.
Uh-huh. Wait, the festival music, can anyone, I'm trying to remember what it sounds like. Is that the do 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 do
Yeah,
like
with
funfair
the with
music?
the bassoon or oboe.
Wasn't that two different things? There's the festival music, and then there's In the Hall of the Mountain King, which was in it as well, I think.
Yeah.
Those were,
Can
I
someone
think, two
sing a
different things.
sample, please?
But In the Hall of the Mountain King is like do 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 do.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah.
And then
I
there's also the festival. So yeah, those are two different.
Yeah.
use that.
Yeah. And then another music moment was, for some reason they had this guy John Farley, and his like title card was John Farley indie singer.
Oh, no.
And they just had him like say something about the game and then just start singing, and like his like weird guitar like acoustic indie song was like in the background of like the documentary for a scene. That was kind of silly. And then one more, Eye of the Tiger.
Yes.
I think that speaks for itself. That song is extremely camp to me.
Absolutely.
A mixture of age and just like overuse and like being over the top. It's like
Yeah.
silly.
Definitely associated, I think, with like sports and like wrestling, and then just putting it in front of this gamer,
Well,
which, yeah, I think oh, sorry, go for it. Yeah.
No,
No, you go,
finish
go.
first.
I was gonna bring up something else.
Oh, well, I kind of was too. I was just gonna say that Billy Mitchell, at the very beginning of the documentary, he like brings up like a German like air force. I don't know what the German Air Force is called. I don't know what he called it, but he was like, you always remember the one who had like the most kills,
Oh
and
God, yeah.
the top American pilot had the second most kills and nobody knows his name. And he was like, that's why I need to be at the top of Donkey Kong. Completely seriously comparing himself to these like war veterans. Like Billy Mitchell, can we touch on that now? Or did you
Yeah.
want to bring up what you were going to bring up, Corey?
It was kind of similar to that. It's like they're comparing themselves to like sports and like war, and like there's that concept of like, I'm a gamer, I don't have a life, I have 99, I've fought in all these wars, I played Dark Souls, thank you for your service, Mr. Veteran, but I've died more times than you have, so on and so forth. Very silly. And then the sports references, like the referee outfits, they're like in sports bars, maybe, just very silly.
Yeah. I did want to bring up a quote that I forgot to bring up when I was defining camp, just because it's really important, that creation of camp has to be serious, it is always unintentional. So just that they're like, this is a serious sport, this is like war.
Exactly.
Camp.
One thing, like adding to like when you were talking about like things about form, like their choice of do you remember when they were on the phone with Billy Mitchell telling him that his score was like being beat? Like I feel like just that entire, like not that whole scene, but just the fact that they were like recording it in his face, like being like, hey, your score is clearly to this person who's like, obviously, I mean, I don't, it seems like he was being made fun of, but
yeah,
I think we can argue.
And that's one of the things we can look at without looking at like the actual like content or the story at that point. It's just this guy with two phones being filmed. It's just so camp. Probably wearing his tie at the time. Just lying down.
Yeah. Yeah. So also in like the editing like field, I guess, when they introduced Billy, and they had that like whole, I guess it was kind of a montage, but it was just like different people saying things about Billy. There was one shot where it was like everything about him is perfect, and then it showed like this like whited out, like it's kind of like glowy and like dreamy, and it's like a shot of his legs and then his torso and then his head, just like standing like in a garage or something. Very funny. And then they said there's a glamour to Billy. Well, he stands there like this and he's like man spreading, like his legs are like this far apart. He's like just silly.
Very masculine sort of deal with the man spreading.
I was just about to say, like, one quote from that, where song tags where it's like, so again, camp rests on innocence. Like, I feel like they're complete obliviousness. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if they're like masculinity and the fact that they're all men has something to do with like kind of like looking down on them a little more. Like, they're supposed to not, like, the fact that like men are like dominant and okay, that's but in like
society says, to quote society says
men are supposed to be like, you know, they're it. So like the fact that they're like completely like oblivious to like the fact that like, you know, this, I mean, Donkey Kong, like I feel like it has to, I feel like it has to sexism plays a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I like that you brought that up, because I also thought it would be important to bring up the fact that they're also all white, if I remember correctly, which I noticed.
That's true too.
In the documentary. They're all like white men, like crowded in this arcade, like for children. There's something there. There's something camp about it. They're
guys,
like men children. Sorry, go ahead.
Good. Do you think that like I think that we brought this up in the last conversation, but do you think that the directors and the people shooting the movie were like new, like were doing it on purpose, or do you think they were like, oh, this is a great like idea for a documentary, like let's like, I'm because that's
look at these cool guys, like let's make a cool documentary about these cool people.
Like this, I mean, just some of the edits and like you watching it and like the things that Billy says, like the tie thing, like, I mean, come on, like they had to have known.
Yeah. I think it's a really good question, because to record these people and then to watch it back 20 times while you're editing it, like you have to hit a point where you realize that they are not cool. Right. Like, so then is the editing really camp if they were self-aware, if they knew that it was silly and they were doing it?
Right, because I know there's this other quote from Sontag and she's like, what is it? Probably intending to be campy is always harmful. So
I think regardless of if the filmmakers intended, like knew what they were doing, making it like funny, I think the fact that the people in it didn't know adds to add some campiness at least.
Yeah, and I also just think like Billy Mitchell, just he is camp. So like
as a person,
yes.
If you want to elaborate, I remember you had some stuff to say about that last time. I don't know if you had any more, had another quote, an example.
Sorry. No, you're good. I know. I just think I think we covered like a lot of like the instances that I was like thinking in my head, but just I mean the combination of his personality, his masculinity, his I think the fact that they're all, I mean, our age, we were talking about our age probably has something to do with it, but they're playing like Pac-Man. Yeah. And his mullet.
And like you said, like the things he says, like his personality. A quote by Billy Mitchell: no matter what I say, it draws, sort of like the abortion issue. Just like throwing that out there.
Which like, I think we talked about this a little time where Sontag said that camp is apolitical.
Oh yes, that was a good question that we brought up last time. Since Billy is so political, USA has to be on top. It's like the abortion issue. I'm like a freaking pilot. But like he is quite a political figure. I mean, what are our thoughts?
Well, abortion again, like I think that kind of turns again into like oblivious masculinity. Like he
Mm.
doesn't know what it's like to have an abortion. He doesn't
Or
have
to
the
ever
body
need
parts for that.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as if he's gonna
Yeah.
get a lady anyway that would have a baby. No. By the looks of how everybody's presented, at least how he's presented, no.
Mm.
Is he getting all these hoes?
Wait,
Probably not.
am I wrong? I feel like at one point, oh, it was Walter Day, the referee, and he was like, I wanted to be the guy that the ladies come up to and are like, whoa, you're doing something cool here. Or
Oh
I don't
yeah.
know exactly what he said, but he was like, I want the ladies to come to me. I'm like, bro, like you're a video game referee.
Mhm.
The video.
How's that working out for you?
I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, the quote that Molly said is the camp's sensibility is unengaged and apolitical. Um, just to like reiterate, I feel like
Mhm.
who said it last time? Was it Demetra? I feel like someone had like a good like thought about that it was like,
Ab-
oh my god,
About how like current, how it kind of be related to
Oh
like
yeah.
I
about
don't
how
know. It was yeah, it was something about how like I guess that it was just like he wasn't like I guess taking a political side, like he was just being like aggressively American, which is in of itself camp.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
thing like that. Yeah. To answer our question.
That
yeah.
might have been me. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
remember. Possibly.
It's been a while.
Like he's not considering other countries politically,
Mhm.
just America, this own entity. It has to be on top. I have to beat my Canadian friends. It's just about America. That's it. Whatever. Nothing about like
Honestly,
its stance
I
anywhere
think
else.
I think there was someone in the documentary was like this international, well, national
Oh
video game,
yeah.
like it is not international, like it's only Americans. So him being like USA because America has to be on top, like he's just like fighting this like make believe battle like for America when he is just with a bunch of white American dudes.
That's
Um,
true.
yeah, I think that's kind of interesting to think about. Um, yeah.
Mhm.
Definitely.
Um,
I had another quote from
yeah,
Sontag. It's
yeah.
in naive or pure camp, the essential element is serious, a series that fails.
Mhm.
So what are seriousness pretty much fails here a
Oh
lot.
yeah,
It
yeah.
fails to make these guys actually look great. Again,
Mhm.
like you're not getting any ladies for being a video game referee, probably. Sorry, Walter.
Yeah. And again, I think it fails on multiple levels because the actual people fail to be serious and the editing fails to portray them seriously.
Mhm.
Again, debatable if the editors knew or not what they were doing. But I do have a failing to be serious quote if we want to discuss that.
Go
Oh,
for it.
yeah, go for it.
The way Steve called his wife the first lady of Donkey Kong.
Oh no.
I think I feel like the fact that like they think that like I mean like I feel like everybody has like their own separate world of like a hobby that they have where like there's like kind of like a hierarchy where like but like nobody and it's not really that serious like nobody gets it but like they are like so immersed into this other world and they think that like everybody else is like so into it and like that's such like an impressive like record or whatever but it's mm, like nobody really cares and again I feel like that adds to the obliviousness.
Even wasn't his wife like kind of aware of it? Like he was naive to it and she was aware because it failed to be serious to her. She's like, I'm the first lady of this monkey game. Are you for real? That's
I
such a
think he
strange
was
title.
very she was very over it. Like even like she went to the competitions with him. She brought their kids at one point, but like when we're first introduced to her, she says like he spends hours hours in this garage. Like I told him he can't do it during the day, so now he stays up in the night to play. And it showed him like in the dark, like hunched over the
I feel like somehow the fact that like he has a wife and children adds to the ridiculous.
For real.
The poopy butt. What was
I
it?
was about to say that totally
Literally
failed to be
neglecting
serious.
his son.
Yeah.
And the way they laughed it off, they were like, haha, it's in the video I had to submit to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? Oh my
Imagine
God.
that kid's life is gonna be like ruined forever.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the wife, I think like surrounding her. I did mention that when she was doing her interview, it had her like in the basement in front of the Pac-Man machine, which I thought was pretty camp. And then another like editing moment that I think regardless of if the editors knew that like these people were not cool, like regardless of like the way they portrayed them, this like there was this weird like editing moment that just like failed completely. It cut from like the wife being in the garage to her being in the car, and just like the audio quality was completely different. Like she was like leaning over and like right in front of the camera like suddenly. So I just think that like there were certain editing moments that regardless of if they knew what they were doing or not, like they just failed at editing.
For sure.
Added to the campity of it all. I think I made that up. Campness.
That's pretty camp, where I love it. That was, there was another like small moment where I was an interview with Brian, I believe. And like he finishes talking and then the camera stays on him when he's done for a little too long. And then the camera like falls. Like that's a bit of failure of seriousness right there. It's like it's not being prepared. Like when they were gonna film the wife in the car, they didn't have like maybe the right audio equipment. That's not being prepared to film a documentary.
Yeah.
It's not planned out.
For sure. So let me look for another example here. Ooh, well, there's this one quote, another one of the extras that they were just like interviewing at the beginning. Actually, I think it was more like at the halfway, like kind of towards the end. But he said, "You don't see a lot of DDG girls, which is drop dead gorgeous, by the way, playing the game." Which I guess going back to our conversation about them all being men, maybe that's why the girls don't play the game, because you say shit like that, bro. Like,
yeah.
And he's so unaware. Like he's being very, very serious.
Right. It's like the that that like we're mistaking.
It's like classifying women, which is almost like a thing that happens now, classifying like alpha males and beta males. I'm sure that was a thing then too. But like,
I don't know.
And like ranking ladies by their numbers, by how hot they are.
You saying alpha and beta, this is so off topic. I'm just gonna say this for 1 second. In the last video, I wore my kitsch like wolf shirt. He's like howling at the moon. Would have been really great, but that's at school and I'm at home now. So
that's really funny though.
Wanted to
a call
let
back.
you. I really try my best. And Molly has kind of a funny shirt on.
I have a funny shirt. I'm not sure if I don't think it's camp.
Could be kitsch.
It may be kitsch, but it also is just iconic. But my mom is like, it's my mom's shirt. She is a doomsday prepper, and she cans like dehydrates food and puts them into cans. And for an explanation for the shirt, Balls is like the company of like cans. So I have a shirt and it says, "Grab your balls, it's canning time." It may be kitsch because she definitely like got it off of Amazon.
I wish I could call it camp though. It's very funny.
I wish I could call it camp, but I don't think.
Unfortunately.
And which is also a great note to end on as we are coming back to the final minute of our.
Oh, we only have 1 more minute.
Oh, do we? Hold on, I want to bring up one more quote really fast.
Okay, go ahead.
Camp sees everything in quotation marks. To perceive camp and objects and persons is to understand being as playing a role. That could be. I think we talked about that last time as well.
Yeah.
With like sports and war in comparison
Yeah.
to video games. Like, not
Mhm.
quite. Nice try.
Yeah. And I also think that like the playing a role aspect, like Billy is like he's like the top, he's the like standard, and he's also like the villain of the doc. And then Steve is kind of like the nice guy, the family guy. He's kind of nice, and he's like the good guy, like he's the one you're rooting for.
That's
Yeah.
so true.
And then with our final minute, I would like to bring up the fact that I do believe, I wanted to bring this up in the lecture, but I wasn't there. I do believe with my whole heart that Twilight is camp, and I will argue with you on that point, Hugh, if you want to. I know you've seen it, probably not all of them, but I know you have seen Twilight because I listened to the podcast episode about that. And
Oh my God.
think it was born from seriousness. I think it's good because it's awful. I think it's too much, but I think it's succeeds where it fails. So on that note,
Effervescent, to quote Robert Pattinson, I believe, right?
Oh my God.
About a snail, was
Robert
it?
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
Hilarious. It was there, I think. Anyway, yeah.
Anyone have any final notes about documentary, something we didn't bring up? Oh, I did want to bring up one more thing. Just that Walter Day, the guy who was like the referee, who was like the decision maker, you'd think they'd want him in like a good light, like showing him as a serious character. Then they show like background clips of him like running after trash blowing away in the wind and like sorting his recycling. And then they show like the clip of him singing badly with a guitar in front of this like dilapidated barn. I just think the decision making there was camp.
Their
to
choice
portray
of, like, instances where they're filming like conversations and everything, like
Yeah, it's like failing to make these guys look cool because they're just not, like, they don't have any clips to put in there that make cool.
They just have a vendetta for him particularly. There's like, you made this decision that I like wasn't cool with, so I'm gonna make you look like this in this documentary. So sucks to suck. Sorry.
Yeah, getting back at him.
Yeah.
Okay, are we set? Is that all?
I believe we're good.
Okay, thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed our video about the King of Kong and camp, and we hope to see you next week. Bye.
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 Bye.